Good evening once again. I'm Stephanie Ruhle. We're going to get to the political news in a few minutes, but we want to begin this evening's broadcast with breaking news. Elon Musk now officially in charge of Twitter. The takeover is complete. With us tonight to discuss, Elizabeth Dwoskin, the Silicon Valley correspondent for The Washington Post. She broke the story tonight. And Kara Swisher, expert on all things Elon Musk and an editor-at-large of New York Magazine, co-host of the Pivot podcast, and On with Kara Swisher. My friend Kara, it's official. Musk is in, top executives are out, and the far right is rejoicing. What are we in for?
Yes. Well, there you are. It kind of says it all. I think it's going to be really difficult. He's bought it for 3 times what it is worth. He can turn it around. He's got a big. It's the Mount Everest of turnarounds for sure. And he certainly has got to bring in some people who are decent at figuring out a business plan for this company. He may not care, but he still doesn't have unlimited funds. And so there's a lot of debt on the books. There's a lot of things they have to pay off, et cetera. And as rich as he is, it's an upward climb for even Elon Musk.
Elizabeth, you're the one who broke this. What else do we need to know? And is Trump returning soon?
Well, we're all preparing for that moment, and certainly the right is rejoicing. I think one thing last week we reported that Musk was planning on potentially cutting up to 75% of Twitter staff. I think what Kara said is right. He's got to figure out, this company has always had outsized influence on politicians, on journalists, but it never made the revenues or the profits of rivals like Facebook and YouTube. So he's presented a lot of rosy pictures to investors. He's floated a lot of plans. He says he wants advertising, but it doesn't really add up. So if he actually is going to make the company functional and profitable, it's a huge uphill climb, and especially if he plans to fire so many people, which tonight's, massacre, Thursday night massacre kind of shows that's the direction he's going in, cleaning house.
Kara, he already had the Twitter megaphone. He didn't need to buy it. He knows he's paying way above market. This is happening while Facebook stock is tanking, and we know he tried to back out. So does he really want this thing?
Well, he had to buy it. He did a contract. I mean, everyone was like, oh, I can get out of it. You can't get out of a contract like he had with that. So he had to buy it. So he's trying to make the best of it, presumably. The problem is he's facing a really tough headwinds, really good companies that make profits. And by the way, Elizabeth, Twitter doesn't make profits. That's one of the problems with it. Mm-hmm. It's been really struggling its entire time. And its stock has had almost no purchase since it was founded, since it went public at least. And so, he has this incredible headwinds going on where very good companies are suffering. Meta is a profit machine, and it's still suffering. Apple, I think, reported today, or what? In any case, they're all facing headwinds. And so you saw Google, Alphabet having problems. So Twitter, they sneezed. Twitter's going to get pneumonia in the advertising business, and that's most of their business. So we'll see what he's going to do. And again, he may have some time with these investors. It's not clear who the investors are, because now it's going to be a private company and we'll have no insight into what's happening. So he could say it's doing well, and what would we know? None of us would know.
But isn't the problem, Kara, that we also don't know exactly who those investors are? So for the price they paid, he could be doing their bidding on this giant superpower of a platform.
Well, what would their bidding be? I mean, it seems
depends
rather
on who they
complex.
Are.
Yeah, it seems like, it's nice. I think they want influence. I think he bought this for influence, and it's not a bad thing for his other companies to say, I'm the head of Twitter. The chief twit is what he calls himself. So in that way, it's good for his other businesses in a weird way. But I don't know what their bidding would be, but it is interesting that this company is, all these companies are owned by billionaires, essentially. And then you have the one that's cleaning everybody's clock, which is TikTok. No matter who you are, that's who's gaining all the advertising money. And that, of course, has implications around the Chinese government interfering with it. So it's a really unusual and weird scene in the social media space.
Elizabeth, running this company, we just went through the headwinds, what he has to do. It's a full-time job, but he's not leaving his other jobs, running Tesla, running SpaceX. He just blew out the entire management team. And since he got into this months ago, we've been seeing scores of employees from Twitter quit on their own. Does he have enough time to even do this?
I mean, I really don't know how he's going to manage all of his many responsibilities. And also, he's a very erratic person. I mean, look what he did yesterday. He showed up at Twitter's offices with a sink saying, you know, it was a stunt. He's a man of memes. Let my ownership sink in. He tried to go on a charm offensive and make nice with everybody. The next day, he fires lots of people. So you also have his erratic personality. I will also say that there are questionable investors in the deal. I mean, there's Saudi money in the deal. There's Qatari money in the deal. We know a lot about the investors. Larry Ellison, you know, was a well-known Trump supporter and co-founder of Oracle. So we have a lot of people who have strong beliefs about free speech and politics. And I think also one of the biggest questions that we didn't address is just, if he does loosen up the standards of the platform by allowing Trump back on, by kind of expanding the speech of the right, does this become a toxic place full of misinformation that then makes the platform not usable to the broader public that wants it for public debate? So there's going to be this really fine line that he's going to have to walk between people wanting to be on the platform and people who are clearly very far on the right that are just rejoicing and are ready to jump on the platform and gain new audiences, gain new followers, and put out lots of content that Twitter in the past was policing, or at least trying to police.
Okay, but then, Kara, that makes me turn to Congress. For years, as Twitter has becoming more and more powerful, almost like a utility in our lives, people have been begging for smart regulation from Congress. So right now, as we brace ourselves for what's to come, shouldn't we be turning to them and say, hey, guys, what have you been up to?
They can't do anything.
They put us in this position.
They can't do anything. They can't do anything. It's a private. Well, no, we have a First Amendment, and so they can't do anything. If you're talking about that, they could do a privacy bill, but Twitter's not really known for that. Other companies have more issues around privacy, but there's almost nothing that Congress can do at this moment for this, except make them liable, move around 230 a little bit. And so if there's some really, if an Alex Jones type personality is allowed to run free on the platform, they can be sued for defamation. But Alex Jones was already sued.
Kara, they've had years. They've had years to put smart regulation around social media platforms and have done nothing. And that's how we ended up here.
Right, but there is none. There is no smart legislation to make. It's privacy legislation. It's antitrust legislation. It's other legislation. But there's no way there's going to be any speech regulation from this Congress or any Congress to come. It's sort of the third rail of politics in that regard. And so I don't see that being the issue. I think the issue is how they treat the data of consumers is really where and again, will that have an effect? This guy wants to buy this thing. It's not a public utility. It's a private platform. You may not like him. A lot of people don't. And he can be, he can be Elon. I think you're just going to decide as a product. And I think that's the problem. If it becomes a free-for-all in the cesspool, you're just going to leave. I'd leave. I love Twitter. But if it starts to become really unpleasant, I'll leave. And I'll go somewhere else, just like I do with lots of things over the years with different technology things.
Elizabeth, Kara, thank you for starting us off on this breaking news tonight. I appreciate it.